Hey, good morning, everyone that's coming in. We are going to get started very soon, in about 2 minutes here. I just want a couple notes for today. We're having 3 presentations, and then we'll do some Q&A at the end. On your toolbar, you'll see a Q&A button, and that is where you'll ask questions, and that'll just help us kind of organize our Q&A time. Also want to note that we are recording today, so today's event will be recorded, and it will be available from the Rails YouTube page. So you'll find it there, and you will also get an email about the recorded version when we're done later today. It's going to be quiet for the next 2 or 3 minutes. You'll see us. You should be able to see the PowerPoint, and then we'll get started right at 2. So I'll put some directions into the chat box. Check it out, and in the meantime, we'll get started very soon. Thanks for coming, everyone. Okay, hi everyone. Good morning. It's 2 o'clock, at least on my clock. So I'm gonna kick us off today. My name is Dan Bostrom. I'm the Rails Member Engagement Manager, and I'm so pleased to have some presenters here today. Let's take a quick look at what we're doing. This is our agenda for today. I'll give just a quick introduction and do some housekeeping, and then I'll turn it over to my colleague Amy De La Fuente from Rails. We also have a presentation from Tina Beaird from Plainfield Public Library, and then Denise Raleigh from Gail Borden Public Library is going to present as well. We'll do a Q&A, and I'll talk about that in a second here, and then we'll come back and we'll do a quick conclusion and wrap up. Okay, so first of all, just some housekeeping. We would love your questions, but we're going to save them to the end. So you should see a Q&A option on your toolbar, and in that Q&A option, you can actually upvote. So if you see a question that someone else has asked, you can hit that thumbs up button, and that would help us know what are the questions that are really important to you, and we'll try to get to those first. We'll try to address as many questions as possible, but we know a lot has changed with the census. That's why we're here today, and so we'll do our best as we can. So again, thank you for everyone for coming, and I really appreciate this. This is a tough time for the census, and we're in a new world certainly than we were back in February. So we're going to do our best. We're going to start off here with Amy De La Fuente giving some just some general advice and news about the census, and then we're going to get to 2 examples of Rails members libraries that are doing some interesting things around the census. So we hope that you will follow along. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Amy. And Amy, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Everyone's going to see blank screen here for a second, and then you're going to see Amy. Amy, you ready?
Okay. Yes. Oh, wait, here we go. Are we on?
We're on. Nice job.
Okay, great. So thank you, Dan, for the introduction. Thank you for helping to collaborate for this opportunity, because obviously a lot has changed with the census. And so if at any point you feel like the Q&A part is not going to be enough to satisfy specific questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and love to be able to help you. So I just want to go over a little bit about why libraries are this natural connection to work with the census. You all have been doing so much prior to COVID-19, and you have really stepped up your game since COVID-19. Including online events and trying to figure out ways to continue to connect with your community. And then now a lot of you are doing curbside pickup. So while your doors might not be open, you are still trying to be there for your community, which is awesome. And that's definitely why I think that libraries can still play a big role with the census. And one of those reasons is because you're equipped with technology. And so we're hoping that you'll be able to find ways to use that. And then lastly, we just want to keep in mind that you all receive your funding from the state, and so obviously it's important that the libraries assist with getting people to complete the census as much as possible. So some of you might be doing census work, and some of you might be looking to engage in this right now. So this is just a quick overview of some of the hard to count populations or traditionally undercounted populations with the census. You may see some or all of these in your communities, and some people are hard to count in multiple ways. So for example, you could be an undocumented person that is under 5 who lives in an apartment building. So that's 3 of those categories together. So the more hard to count identities you have, I think it's that much harder to try to reach those folks. So like Dan mentioned before, we're in a totally different space than we were pre-COVID-19. So for those of you that aren't aware, the census deadline has been extended to October 31st. It was previously, I think, the 15th of August. So the 31st is the very last day to respond to the census. Enumeration efforts are supposed to begin in Illinois around the middle of August. That is 100% dependent upon our current health situation in our state, but hopefully that will be happening. And so enumeration efforts are when census workers start going door to door to follow up with people who have not responded. Because of this, the Census Bureau is going to send an additional postcard reminder between July 22nd and July 28th to households that they have not received a response from. So that is just a few short weeks from now. So this is a really good opportunity to try to push for people to respond, so that when the door knockers go out there from the Census Bureau, they have fewer places to follow up with. And then lastly, there are places around the United States and even some locations in Illinois that are often more rural or that traditionally have PO boxes. So a few weeks ago, beginning June 24th and up through July 3rd, the Census Bureau did send out specific documents related to the census to PO boxes. So for some folks, that was the first time that they had received contact from the Census Bureau. So prior to that, starting the week before everything shut down to COVID-19, the Census Bureau had started with these weekly mailings with postcard reminders, with questionnaires, probably 6 to 8 touch points to households that hadn't responded, just to kind of continue to encourage them to respond. So it's just, there's just other ways that the Census Bureau is trying to reach people. So those are just some of those updates. And one thing to keep in mind is that the first efforts the Census Bureau put out back in March to reach people, telling them to respond to the census, each household had a specific census code. However, if you never received any information from the Census Bureau, or you have lost your information that was sent to you, you do not need a census code in order to complete the census. So that's really important, because people may have changed households or this and that, but you can still respond to the census. So what's the same, even though COVID-19 has changed a lot? There are still 3 ways to respond, and that's by internet, by phone, and by the paper questionnaire. So these are just links directly to the Census Bureau, so that if you're interested, you can see which languages can you respond by phone, which languages are available via the paper questionnaire, how do I request that? Currently, what we have found with the state of Illinois is that census tracts that are wider and wealthier tend to have higher response rates, and lower response rates are usually found in rural areas, low income tracts, or people, or tracts that have a lot of high poverty, and then also tracts with where higher numbers of racial and ethnic minorities live. As Dan stated before, I'm the program manager for the census grant that Rails received from the Illinois Department of Human Services. So I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with 25 subrecipients, most of them libraries, and in addition to working with these folks, I've also heard about a lot of other successful outreach that has happened throughout the state, because in addition to Rails being a regional intermediary, there are 30 other RIs in the state, and there are a total of 361, I think, subrecipients that are doing work all across the state. So due to COVID-19, we found that there are a lot of different ways that we need to try to reach out to people. People are not in their same spaces where they were before, not in the same financial state, not in the same work-related state. Sometimes they're not even in the same housing location that they were several months ago. So where's successful outreach happening? It's happening at food pantries, schools, and places where meals are getting picked up at. There's successful outreach when you work with your community partners, when you provide flyers and posters and things like that at places where people are going, like grocery stores, pharmacies, takeout restaurants, other local businesses. Successful outreach is happening when census information is shared in different languages. And then there's also a lot of successful outreach that has been happening with libraries and how they interact with their patrons. So, you know, things like sending emails to everybody who has a library card, putting the census information in their newsletter, leaving a phone message on the incoming phone line for the libraries, posting information on websites, the social media, signs outside, that sort of thing. In addition to that, now that libraries are starting to reopen a little bit, making available their technology, such as portable laptops and hotspots and things like that, so that patrons are able to come to possibly the library vestibule, or specifically opened areas in the library where people can use technology. Publicizing that your Wi-Fi is available possibly in your parking lot, so that people can come and use their smartphones and fill out the census on there. Sharing what your efforts are are looking like with earned media. So contacting your local newspaper and letting them know that despite COVID-19 and different forms of reopening or shutdowns, that you're still trying to do your part to help community members to complete the census. And lastly, just in addition to the library being a trusted messenger, there are also many other trusted messengers in your community as well that that libraries have partnered with, like the legislators, elected officials, school and other community leaders. So we have less than 4 months to try to improve the census response rates. So the most important thing for libraries to do is to push responses, to try to get everybody in their community to respond, especially those folks that are considered hard to count. So Rails will have a limited amount of supplies to share with libraries in low response communities and census tracts. So if you feel like your library community area may qualify for that, please feel free to reach out to me via email, and we'll see what we're able to help you with so that you can do your part in your community. So there are some easy and low cost ways for you to try and incorporate the census into your daily routine. So I know that a lot of you are doing curbside pickup right now. I know that a lot of you have gone forward with your summer reading programs, even though they look a little bit different right now. You're still moving on with them. A lot of you have turned to virtual programming during the pandemic, and you've done some phenomenal things. I have hopped around to different library websites on their Facebook page and just seen cooking and book clubs and garden things and kids taking walks to go count things in their community, and story times, bedtimes, so many things. You can also encourage your community members to come and make appointments for computer use if that's something that you that your library is currently doing. And then lastly, promote BiblioBoard census collection. So you're probably wondering, what is that? A lot of you already have BiblioBoard advertised on your website or on your social media pages, and Rails was able to work with BiblioBoard and have them create a special census collection. And so the link is here. And the neat thing about this partnership is that each book in the collection, there are over 450 titles, I believe, and they all promote census participation. There's a direct link to the titles on the census landing pages. It's easy for you to promote. A really big thing is we know that there are lots of unserved areas in the across the state. So if you are near one of those unserved areas, this is a way to promote BiblioBoard and access to reading to everybody. And then you can tie them into some of your existing programming. So lastly, we do have some marketing materials that are available to any of the libraries if they would like to use them. I can just quickly show you what that looks like in case you're wondering. There are different folders that are here. There's resources, things with advertising, signage, if you want to add things to your digital and social media platforms, if you want to share videos. Let's see.
Doesn't seem to want to work for you, does it, Amy?
Are you able to see this part here with
we're only seeing your slideshow right now.
Oh, you are? Oh no. Okay, I'm so sorry. Thanks for pointing that out.
That's okay.
I think
do you want me to pull it up and do a share?
Oh, sure. That would be great.
Okay, 1 second. Care about the count.
Yes.
assets. Oh, I got it wrong. Okay, I think I see what I got wrong. I got it. Okay. All right. Okay, so I need you to stop sharing your screen, Amy, and I can
Absolutely.
share
Okay.
mine.
Sure.
All right. Share screen. Okay. So you wanted to show the which ones? Can you see this?
Yes. Okay, so there are a lot of things under the collateral and with signage, flyers, stickers. We do have some of this available that that you could request to be able to share out at curbside pickup or with community partners. And these, I believe the some of this information, excuse me, I lost my train of thought. Oh, some of these materials are available in other languages. I believe it's the hand cards that are available. So if you look under the statewide collateral, the very bottom, yes. But there's yard signs, stickers, things like that. So we just want to, you know, we want to be able to support your library, especially if you are in a hard to count census tract or serve some hard to count census tracts. And like Dan said, this presentation will be available. My slides will be available. You have my email, so I look forward to hearing from any of you. And thank you so much for your time. And that's it.
Thank you, Amy. Yeah, we're gonna make Amy's presentation available from the Rails Census 2020 Pulse page, which is right on the middle of our homepage. You can find it, and we'll put the link into the chat here as well. Okay, so our next, rather than go back to the PowerPoint, I'll just jump in here. And our next presentation is Tina Beaird from Plainfield Public Library, and Tina has a video that we're gonna watch. Oh, you know what? I have to stop sharing again because I have to do that special audio share. Okay, optimize for screen. There we go. Okay, never easy. Okay, so can you all see this? And let me know if you can't hear it.
Hi everyone, it's Rebecca, your head of technical services. Today's video features everyone's favorite good boy, Conan, and the totally real time he filled out his census. What are you working on? Oh, filling out your census? Conan, I'm so sorry. Pups don't count in the census. Fine, I will fill it out.
Okay. All right. Did you were able to see that, right? Yeah, okay. Awesome. Okay, Gene, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. As you can see, I am back to work. So not only do I have my mask on, but I'm freezing, so I have my fingerless gloves on as well already in the middle of July. So just like everybody else, things that we had planned at the library didn't exactly go as we had anticipated. So, we kind of had to punt, just like everybody else did. So the things that we had originally intended to do, things that we had been planning for since October of last year, kind of had to go by the wayside, just like with the rest of us. So hopefully you can see my screen. So we had a number of community partnerships. So we worked with our local complete count committee, which included the village, which included the park district, which included the local school district, as well as the library. And we had planned on doing more in-person community events. We do a number of events throughout the summer. All of that kind of wound up going by the wayside because we're not holding any in-person events just yet. So we kind of devised a way to get that message out through other types of communication. So the village water bills, we had the ability to put in a notice at the bottom of the village water bills to alert people to fill out their census. The Chamber of Commerce puts out an e-blast once a week. So a couple of times they have reminded people to go in and fill out their census. School district reaches thousands of households within the Plainfield School District, which is 64 square miles. So we have a lot of students who are being reached through the school district announcements. So they were including things about the census in their weekly blast. And then once we realized that we were going to start to reopen a little ahead of schedule, we worked with the village to get notices put onto local restaurant receipts, as well as we're working on it for our library receipts as well. So we have the ability to put up to 4 lines on the bottom of our library receipts. And it's usually something like, you have saved XYZ number of dollars. But we also decided that we could squeeze in, be sure to fill out your census with the census address online as well. And our local businesses downtown who have reopened for outside, they're doing some inside at a less capacity, have been doing that as well. So on their business receipts, they have also been reminding people to complete the census. In our downtown area, we do have sign holders where they had put up posters leading up to the census. Anybody who knows anything about signage knows that after about 6 weeks, nobody even notices that those are there anymore, and they just kind of either forget about them or assume that we've forgotten about them. So we encouraged a couple of weeks ago the village to refresh and change those, use different colors, and put out a new message to kind of alert those people who are now coming back to downtown to visit open businesses and restaurants again, that, oh, hey, yeah, the census is still going on and we have until October to complete that. The village has been giving away yard signs in some of our lower response neighborhoods. So people might have seen those if they're driving around certain neighborhoods within the village of Plainfield as well. And then the village had created these don't forget to complete their census that they were handing out initially at the Coffee with the Mayors. But since there haven't been any in-person Coffee with the Mayors over the last couple of months, they gave those stickers to us, and we have been distributing them through our curbside pickup over the last week or so. So some print resources, we had done everything that I'm sure all of your libraries had done leading up to the shelter in place in March, which was we were promoting the census with signage in the library. We had a computer dedicated waiting for people to come to fill out the census, which we never got to use because we had to shut down. We had included articles about the census in our library newsletters. But then once we did shut down, we had to start being a little bit more creative in how we were going to reach out to people. So behind our library, we have what's called a giving pantry, where people can donate food or come and get food if they need it. We didn't have enough room to put in postcards, just because of how packed, as you can see, how packed it is with food. So we created a poster with a QR code so that anybody who's taking food out of that giving pantry can scan that QR code, and it takes them directly to the My 2020 census page to where they can fill out and complete their census right there. And on that little poster, it says, this takes no more than 10 minutes. Please make sure you're counted because it affects community services, such as, roads and libraries and food pantries and things like that. We also created postcards. They were initially supposed to go to our local food pantry, but because of the shelter in place, that never happened. So we have a stack of those to go into our curbside pickup bags as well. We had programming, in-person programming planned, like I'm sure all of you did. We kind of had to punt with that as well. So we held 2 Census Q&A sessions with Vanita from the U.S. Census Bureau here in the Chicagoland area. And we invited the patrons and the public to come and sit in and ask any questions that they had. Didn't quite go as well as we had anticipated, extremely low turnout, but it gave us an opportunity as staff to just pummel them with questions so that if somebody asked us, we can then in turn say, oh yes, August 11th is when they're going to start going door to door. Halloween is when they're going to shut down doing in-person census counts. So it gave us the opportunity to collect some of that data that we can then share. All of our ESL clubs went virtual. So I've been the moderator for our reading club and for our conversation club, which happens on Mondays and Thursdays. So we usually set aside time every other week to talk about the census. Everybody always says, oh yes, yes, I filled it out. So we stopped asking them if they have filled it out and have started putting kind of the onus on them. Have you asked people? So we've been asking people in our conversation clubs once, at least ask one other person that you know if they've filled it out. And if they haven't, help them. So whether that's a sibling that lives nearby, whether that's their parents, whether that's a neighbor, somebody else within their community, we've really been encouraging our ESL patrons to practice their skills and share that information and kind of become that trusted person within their community. So our ESL clubs have really embraced that. And our tutors have been working one-on-one and in small groups using Zoom and some other platforms to stay in contact with their students. And they've been kind of reminding them and working with them about making sure they fill out the census as well. I do all the genealogy programming for my library. So we had taken my in-person presentation about using the census for your genealogy and made it into a webinar, which is up on our website. So if any of you are interested in using that for your library or want to share it, go right ahead and grab it. Share it with anybody who you think might be interested in that. And we're still continuing to find ways that we can promote through library programming. We have until October. We haven't given up on this. So we're going to continue to kind of drive this message home. Plainfield doesn't have a terribly high number of completed censuses. We're still at less than 80%, which I think we can do a lot better on. So we're still continuing to push this idea through those partnerships and through our online resources. So the library back in February set up a dedicated census information page where people could go to our site to watch videos, watch tutorials, find out more about how the census works and the different ways in which they could participate. But we've also posted or shared dozens of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter posts. If you could think of it, we've tried to find ways to share it online. So if you've ever gone into Facebook, I don't know how many of you realize that you can actually do a search on content. But if you go in, there's a way to figure out who's talking about the census and not just through hashtags. So I just did a little screenshot of some of the things that we've posted recently that we've either shared from other groups like Healthy Plainfield or things that we have posted ourselves on behalf of the Census Bureau. So, we're still actively, as you can see, these are all within the last month. We're still pushing this and driving this conversation about the census. And you already watched the video with Conan the Wonder Dog about how to take the census even though doggies are not allowed. So some miscellaneous things that we did, which goes back to what Amy was talking about. We had created I count buttons to pass out to families and to individuals who had taken the census. We still have stacks of these at the library available to be passed out. If anybody wants one, they're welcome to take one. We had received a box of Census 2020 bags from the U.S. Census Bureau. Those were the first set of bags that we used when we started curbside because we wanted to get that message out once again to people that the census is still going on. So all of the bags we had went within, I think, the first 2 days, we had that many cars who came for curbside pickup. We've been taking advantage of digital signage, not only our marquee, but also signage within the village. We have one of those very, very large digital signs on Route 59 who was promoting the census on our behalf as well. So even though people can't be in our building, we're still advertising for the census through those avenues as well. So that was all I had for my PowerPoint. And I'm eager to hear what Denise is doing up in Elgin as well. But any of the information that I shared, this is being recorded. So if you're interested in looking at our library page, maybe taking some of that information and using it for your sites as well, please feel free.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tina, and I appreciate that. Okay, so we're going to turn it over to Denise Raleigh from Gail Borden Public Library, and I am going to share my screen again. 1 second. Okay, so that's not what I want. I want this. And okay, you should be able to see my screen, yes? Oh,
All right. Are we good?
oh yeah. Okay, can you see that, Denise?
Yeah, I can see it.
Wonderful. Okay.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Amy and Tina. I've got a page of notes already. And thank you for inviting me to present. Again, I am known as the Census Lady in Elgin, since it was an honor really for the library. The first time we were invited, which was in 2010, it was due to, as I think Amy was talking about at the beginning, because we're trusted and because we had so many partner connections. So they came to us in 2010 to see if we would head up the census effort then, and we were happy to do it. Again, that made it very easy for folks in our community to come and ask us again, would we do this in 2020? Well, who knew the train ride we would be in? And at the heart of things, what we found is the census effort and the census campaign is about people, it's relationships. And we are so happy. We have 130 people who regularly participate. We have 40 or 50 really great partners, and everyone is committed. But what has been very, very difficult, that we've been working for 2 years on this. And so seeing this morph, and to see these people continue to show up to our weekly meetings on how do we move the needle, it's been just inspiring, really. And again, I always think like, hey, I need someone behind me. I had a co-chair, the co-chair from the assistant city manager, and she took a new job in Colorado some time ago. So I call myself a Kim chair, and we do have plenty of city support. So Dan, if you could go to the next slide. Again, this one I put together to just say, this is how we pivoted. I mean, we opened with 350 people at our opening. We had the assistant governor there. It was a fantastic opening, and everybody showed up. Everyone had t-shirts. We had tons of large events. We did trainings, and these were all in a large, major way. And of course, we've all moved to a very virtual format. And I'm going to talk about different things that we have used, some very successful, some not very successful. I'll start with first, if you can see that digital art contest. And Dan, I'm going to ask both of my videos that I've asked you, I'm going to ask you to share during this screen. Could you just share maybe 2 minutes of the digital art contest? And this is one thing we worked with all of our partners with. And again, our school district is U46. So they are a fundamental messaging, you know, their shoulder to shoulder partner with us. So here's a little bit of the outcome of the Census art contest that we ran for all students.
It's okay if I cut it off there, Denise?
That's wonderful.
Okay.
Again, there was not too many rules for this whatsoever. The whole idea was it was done hashtag style so that they were sharing it on their own Facebook pages. If some parents did not, or some children did not have social media they wanted to post to, they could send it to the library, but we didn't get that many. So it actually was supposed to do messaging. And again, these are the folks that we're counting for. So we were thrilled. I think we had people who just sent us unicorns, of course, which had nothing to do with census, and they didn't qualify for the prizes. But we actually ended up hosting another art display with them virtually. And those kids but we had very few of those. So, but it was a fantastic, and that's where we're finding we are moving the mark. We had one social media push, and that was around Census Day, where we moved the 7.5. And for some people who don't know a whole lot about Elgin, we are wonderfully diverse. We had 4 hard to count census tracts that are now over 50% right now. As of yesterday, Elgin itself is at 68.8. So Tina, you made me very jealous when you said, "Oh, I'm over 80%," and I still don't think I need to be where I need to be. In 2010, we thought we did really well with the 79%. But again, as Amy was saying, it really does go with socioeconomic. When you think of what people are dealing with in their everyday lives, we're at almost 20% unemployment in Elgin right now. So, having our message land with people is very difficult when people are food insecure. I'm going to ask you to show that is one of the things that we are doing, is showing up to food events. And if you would show that other video there, Dan, that'd be appreciated.
Wonderful. And
only the English portion, we could cut it off. This one does run English then Spanish. Thank you.
Okay, hello, my name is Oswaldo Alvarez. I am the director of the census for the state of Illinois. We are here with Elgin Partnership for Early Learning, the Northern Illinois Food Bank, and local partners here in Elgin, promoting the census and also distributing food and distributing different resources for the community, especially right now during these hard times of COVID-19. We are reminding people of the census. The census is one of the very few resources that every single person here in Elgin has to be able to bring resources here to Elgin, including the food that they're going to be receiving today. We want to give a special thanks to the Latino Caucus for helping us with this event. And we also want to thank some of our local businesses, such as Los Comales, who helped us bring some resources to our community. Thank you, and please make sure that you get counted.
Hi, I'm Denise Raleigh. I'm the co-chair of the Elgin Complete Count Committee, and we're so excited to be part of this event. It's wonderful to see so many people getting taken care of here, but it's also really important that the census message gets out to all these people, because it makes such a difference to resources just like this. So thanks to everyone for involving the Elgin Complete Count Committee for this effort. Thanks to Apple, and thanks to all the other partners.
Hi everybody, my name is Rose Martinez. I'm a council member of the city of Elgin. And this is very important. People are in need right now. We're going through a terrible pandemic, and people are coming for help in what it is that Elgin can do for them. So we got together in collaboration with the Gail Borden Library, with Centro Información and Food for Greater Elgin, a lot of great organizations. And at the same time, we're also reminding them about the census. It's so important to be counted as a person. It's very easy. You can do it online. You can do it by mail. I've heard people do it by telephone. And if you have any issues or don't understand, reach out to somebody and let everybody know. It's very important that we're all counted. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Karina Nava. I'm part of the Elgin Complete Count Committee. I'm very excited to be part of this event. There's people that haven't filled out their census yet that are filling it out in their cars, and it's super easy to fill out. So if you haven't filled out your census, make sure you fill it out.
Hi, this is Rosa from Centro de Información, and we're here handing out some information on census and also distributing food for all the people that are in need in the Elgin area. And we just wanted to make sure that everybody has completed their census. In this time of days with the pandemic, it's very important for everybody to complete their census so we can get all the federal funds that we need for medical supplies, medical services, and also food. As you can see, we have a lot of people in need of food, so we need to make sure that everybody's counted so we can get all the funds that we need for the people in Elgin. So I forgot to mention, you guys can call Centro de Información if you need help. The phone number is 847-695-9050, and we can help you with the census. You can also call the library or go online for any additional assistance. Make sure everybody is protected. Make sure you wash your hands and keep your distance. Thank you.
I'm Tiffany, and I work with School District U46, the Give Me 5 program, and I collaborate a lot with the Elgin Partnership for Early Learning. And we are out here today because we know the need is in the community, and it's important that the community comes together to meet the needs of our families.
Yeah, I'm here today just to make their summer worthwhile so they can read and avoid that summer slide. That's what we want to do. We want to put books in the children's hands, and so that they don't think so much of what's going on around them, they can get lost in the book.
Okay, that's all you want to show, Denise?
That's all, and that whole repeats in Spanish. We do a lot of our stuff bilingually since we have such a high Spanish-speaking population, and that is the population we most need to reach out to with regard to the census. They are the hard to count census tracts are populated by many Spanish speakers, so it's incumbent on us. And so to get to these events and to get to other ones, and again, the school district is a huge partner. Again, we're drawing print. We've got the water bills as I think, was that Tina who were talking about that water bills. We start phone banking with the Illinois Coalition of Immigrant and Refugee Rights. That gal there, Rosa Lopez, she is working for Centro due to a grant, due to our census grant. So we granted a position with them to work on the census. She's going to continue work. And what we are going to be doing now is the Elgin Partnership for Early Learning is serving lunches at some of the parks. We will be setting up our census tables, and she will be giving out items such as, I believe we're getting water bottles to give out to people who will complete it right there. What we are finding is it's very difficult to match the future of funding with people who are worried about what's happening today. So we're going to really incentivize on the spot because we're moving at 0.1 right now. And so it's just finding we're pulling every lever that we have. And I can't tell you how gratifying it is to be working with the partners that we have on board, because we constantly get calls like, I've got an event over here, can the census jump in? So I really do a lot of logistics and making sure that I have especially our bilingual representatives at a lot of these events. And if, I'm trying to think, we also have table toppers at both our hospitals and our restaurants that are opening. So that's one of the other ways we're trying to get the word out. We also have a vibrant gailborden.info/census. We do, the community census page is on the library's website, but we have all kind of downloadables. Like we encourage everyone to put the census badge on their front page of their website, but we also have people who have monitors. So we will be pushing that out again, but we have monitor, if you need content for your waiting room monitors, you can easily download them from that website. Churches, and Dan, if you could just move to the next screen. So there was Father Jesus was leaving St. Joseph's Church. So our huge 14-foot census tablet was there for that, and we were invited by the church people who we reach out to regularly, our faith-based leaders, to carry our census message, because it's really taking care of their flock, taking care of the people who live there. This is another item we're doing is temporary signage that the city is moving around, just with different locations. And Dan, I'm going to ask you to go, yes. Can you jump 2 screens? And then we'll come back to that one. And this is one that I would suggest people please put this down. If you're wondering about where to locate billboards, where to locate signs, this is just the traffic counts at your, that the state of Illinois maintains. We use this when we're determining, we first used it for talking about where billboard purchases should be made. We may go back to billboards. Some of our billboards have ran out and we haven't renewed those, but these really help you determine, where your HTC population is located, what corners are they going to go by. And this just has the traffic counts in both directions. So this was really helpful for us in determining, how to use, where to use our resources. We all have limited resources in people and time, and making sure that the most effective they can be is, we're trying really hard to do that. And now if you'll jump back, Dan, I'm going to talk about a different, what we've done here is we've added a lot of the organizations, the churches, the schools, the grocery stores that are located in our, in targeted areas, so that if we are choosing between 2 locations for a sign or for those electronic signs, or is it a church? We really regularly reach out to our faith-based leader. We have a whole subcommittee of faith-based people, and it's making sure that we have some traction for getting that message out. And again, we're all just trying to be saying, being on the same page, saying the same thing. And what we pivoted to, and if you heard during the video, is we've actually already received $500,000 in like COVID funding that came from Kane County and went to Elgin, and it's partially based on a census count. So what we've tried to really do is say, do you care about the resources that are coming out right now? Those are largely based on somewhat, if not totally, on the census count. So making sure that our message can resonate even more, and hoping to move them, because it's really difficult. We've had it in our newsletter. We saturate, our newsletter goes to 55,000 homes and businesses, and it's been in our newsletter for since late last year. So I don't know if people haven't seen it. It's how do you motivate them to take that step? And again, it's really, I think it's going to become person to person. And as Tina was talking with people in her groups, we actually did a campaign where we asked people to talk to, I filled out mine, now can you help someone else? And we thought that was pretty effective too. And sometimes we'll see it move 2 or 3%, but now we think that's a big movement. So it's very hard, and it's not like they haven't seen it. It hasn't been high enough on the list to motivate people to do this. So we're hoping if Dan, if you want to walk down to the next slide there, we're hoping this is going to be the one that puts this back and brings the visibility back to the census. And if you are working on a CCC in Kane County, hopefully you can join in with us. This is Aurora working with Elgin. And we are really, really close. I think we're 60. We're very competitive though. I know their numbers. We're 68.8 and they're 68.7. But we're neck and neck. But what we're going to do on July 15th is we're going to have the census parades in our own community. And then we will meet halfway in Geneva at 1 p.m. And we're inviting all the rest of the CCC people who would like to come it's at the Fox Valley Ice Arena on Kirk Road. And the mayors will be talking, a number of people will be talking. We hope to hire an airplane with a banner that's going up and down King County. Between these two, between Elgin and Aurora, we have 58% of the King County population. So we hope if we can both get moving again in a major way, that we can really move the needle. It's just imperative that we get counted for so many, and again, it's funding and it's legislatively, and there are so many reasons. It's to take care of the people in our community. So we are hoping that this will really get us moving once again in more than 0.1. It's just, and if you move to the next screen there, Dan, because what we are going to do with this is we're going to be talking about census. If we're all worried about equity, the census is about equity, because the equity is going to have funding attached to it when we make some major changes, and so much of the funding is going to be determined on population counts. So we're hoping to make actually add that into our messaging as well. So again, from one extreme to the other, where we had tons of people, to now virtual, but now we're going back to this little bit, we're sticking our toe in. Our library is open now, in a very limited way, but of course we have all of our census banners out, except for the one I have behind me. And of course it's out on our monument sign electronically. So, and again, yard signs are coming back out, but it's like pulling every lever and then assessing and seeing, what took place after that. And that's one thing about the census effort, is there's so much data to tell you, do more of this, maybe do less of that. And that is one thing that it does give back data pretty regularly, and it can inform us. But it's really a wonderful thing to do. And at the end of the day, you're going to have these best friends who have been through all of this, all of us together for the the greater good of the community. And that's what I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Denise. That's great. Okay, so I'm going to head back to the PowerPoint. And we're at the Q&A portion of our presentation, and I've already see that some folks have put in some questions, and I appreciate that. So we're going to start and keep them coming if you have them. So I'm going to start with the first one. Are people able to check if they've already filled out the census? I've tried to mention the census to patrons now that we're allowing patrons into the building, and more than one has stopped and thought and said, in all seriousness, I have no idea if I filled that out or not. A lot has happened since March. Yeah, absolutely. Tina, Denise, Amy, can one of you jump in and answer this question?
I can tell them that if a person puts it in again with the same address, that the census will pick it up. They will, they have quality control. So if two things will come out from the same address, they'll take the more fuller, the one that's more completely filled out, but it doesn't hurt to do it again.
I think also to Denise's point that if they see some sort of discrepancy, so what if it's an apartment building and maybe somebody didn't put that it's, unit 1 or unit 2. So I think, again, that's where the Census Bureau would be able to possibly ask some follow-up questions if they had that person's phone number in order to discern, like, is this a whole new residence, or is this just somebody that, forgot?
One thing to remind patrons is that the Census Bureau will call you, just like Amy said. They started making those calls a couple of weeks ago. So if you're in doubt, you could always look it up on the Census Bureau website, are the numbers that they're using to call and verify people's information. So if you had started to answer a question and didn't complete it, then they'll contact you to finish off that information. So yes, if you accidentally fill it out twice, they'll contact you about it. You could always call the 800 number too and ask if you've done it already, or do it over the phone.
Yeah, great. Thank you, all three of you. Amy, I think this next question is for you. Or at least I think this is a you question. If we ordered census supplies already, when should we expect them to be delivered? Is that a Rails question, or is that a census question?
No, it is a Rails question, okay. Because we had started in on this, and then COVID-19 hit, and so pretty much we had we had nobody at the office and nobody doing deliveries. So we are ramping that back up. The question that I have is I'm wondering where, like which library Noreen is from. And then that would just help me to be able to follow up.
Yeah, Noreen is from Piatone.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'll connect with you later about that.
Okay.
Okay, and this is a good tip from Laura. Laura says, if anyone interested, I work with my local historical society to give a lecture on the history of the census in America. They can give the lecture virtually as well. Peoria Historical Society. Laura, thank you for that. And Victor, I believe that question, we already answered that question. How do we verify that we were counted in the census? Thank you for that. And I think we are at the end of our time here. Yeah, it looks like we're about 2 minutes finished. I want to actually just close it out here and just say thank you so much to our presenters. You all did a fabulous job. We are all in this together. This is important for everyone here in the state of Illinois. As Amy mentioned, funding is critical for libraries, for Rails, for individual patrons, and even non-library users are going to benefit from a more complete count. So I really hope that all of you are inspired to go out there, and I know you've been working hard on this already, but continuing those efforts and keeping going until we get a complete count, because I think we're doing really well right now, but I think we could always do better. So thank you all again, and a reminder, this was being recorded, so you'll have access to it. We will send you, you'll get an email from Zoom with notification. It'll have a link to a YouTube video. And then you can always find the video from our YouTube page. It's just Rails Libraries. That's our username, and you can find us there. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great Tuesday.
Thank you.